What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 39 of the Art Meets Culture podcast. I am your host, Ade Sunusi, aka Sunusi the First, aka ADE, Art Dealer Entrepreneur. Welcome back, guys. Yes, it's been a long ass week. Had some eventful things happen, over the last couple of days in terms of content creations, meetings with ideas. So I'm quite thankful about that. But that's neither here or there because we're going to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, man, thank you so much for supporting, guys. 39 episodes. That's insane. I'm just even thinking about the number. I always get shocked when I do another one and say the number, but I become amazed about what it's led up to. But we're almost at 40, the beautiful 40. So I can't wait. But right now we're gonna stay focused in the present, and push on. But yeah, man, appreciate you all for listening. Be sure to follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, all sorts. I'm doing this all right now, so you guys know, but I might remind you at the end as well to follow us on all of those platforms. But yeah, man, we appreciate you, spreading the love on that one. Also share it with your friends right now. If you can do it right now, share the episode to your friends. And let them know, there's a dope podcast. They talk about art, they talk about culture, they talk about entrepreneurship, they talk about NFTs, which we do, but not in this one, but we do. We have in the past episode with Ali Grimm, so check that out. The last episode 38. But yeah, we really go in with everything, and I love it. And you, as you know, I'm hungry for this. Hungry to make this platform a massive platform. Do you know what I mean? So everybody, every artist who grace these airways, grace your headphones, grace the stage, grace the exhibitions that we do. I'm truly grateful for that because you are helping with the bigger mission. Do you know what I mean? And the more we collaborate together, the more we push, these things are going to excel everybody. Do you know what I mean? And I can't wait to to touch the world with this, touch the people who are probably listening to this now. This might be their first time listening to us, I don't know if this could be years ahead in time, do you know what I mean? But they're listening right now. So shout out to you future listeners who are listening right now. So if you're a future listener, leave us a comment, say you're a future listener, do you know what I mean? So I appreciate you all. But yeah, no, it's amazing, it's strong. And we're going to keep building and pushing so this platform can be what it needs to be. And I think 2021 is the year, and above and beyond from that. So we're truly grateful. So I wanted to say that first and foremost, and show my appreciations from there. But updates, let's crack on to the updates, or what's been going on. Yesterday, for those who are listening today, yesterday we officially dropped the first episode of State of the Art with Emmanuel Onaje. The State of the Art was something I was planning to do for a while. I was trying to work out how I was going to do it during lockdown, or before lockdown rather, because it was going to be more live talks and we're going to talk about more in-depth stuff. So not only will we be talking about artists and their stories and stuff, that we want to go into okay, what projects are they doing? Let's talk about that project. What's the inspiration behind that? The ideas around that. So it was just intriguing from there. So, we kicked that off on the IG Live. So that will be on IG Live until we'll probably transition into do some higher production bits when, lockdown eases. But we want to do it right. But right now we're doing it organically and connected with the people, but you'll see the growth from there. So I appreciate you all for checking in. But yeah, it was a great episode. So be sure to check that out. It's on our Instagram, on our IGTV. I get words mints, IGTV, IG Reels, so many. But yes, that's going to be on our IGTV section of the Instagram page. So you can check that out. So that's a good listen and a good watch rather. Do you know what I mean? That was my first time my second time doing a live, but my first time, doing it on my platform and having that one-on-one, having people listening and tune in, and getting a great energy from it as well. So, shout out to Emmanuel and his bro as well, man. They do great things and they got great energy behind them. So be sure to check them out, follow them, watch that, and also watch the visual. Nigeria Through the Lens of the Diaspora. That is the documentary, mini doc that they're shooting from their series Fact or Fiction. So yeah, it's truly amazing, you know, and you know, it's inspiring, especially if you're a Nigerian as well. But if you know you're black, you know what I mean, and you know you want to connect and understand what's going on the other side, wherever you are in the world, you know, there's some important things happening, you know, and the first generation Nigerians are really doing some sick stuff. But yeah, that's state of the art. So that will happen once a month, so you'll see that. But yeah, we're just working, man. I tell you, we're just working, we're just pushing and working hard, you know what I mean, hard and smart, you know what I mean, but work is work, but we do both. I did announce also a new series called The Artist Watch, was another IGTV exclusive. So The Artist Watch is basically, again, you know, we're looking into the new artists coming up, you know what I mean, smaller followings and stuff like that. And I just want to just be like, smaller followings, larger followings, whatever it is, you know, if they're new. And I'm just going in, we're just interviewing them and asking them the questions, you know what I mean, and seeing what's up, you know, what inspires them, their reasons behind their art, and just giving them encouragement and push, you know what I mean, to push on. But yeah, that should be dropping next week. I'm literally dropping that first episode next week. I ain't playing no games, do you know what I mean? Because I've literally worked my ass off this week with a bunch of other projects as well. But next week, it's definitely out. So if you're listening to it now, it's already out. If you're listening to it, if you're listening to it now, it's not out, but if you're listening to it now, it's going to be out next week. That's what I meant to say. So it's going to be out next week, but if you're listening in the future, it's already out, you know what I mean? Go hit that like on that visual. Go, you know, show some love to the artists who are going to be featured. And that series is going to happen every 3 months. So I'm literally going to drop it ASAP, and then, yeah, boom, they're going to see another set in 3 months. But yeah, it's just going to be an ongoing series. Just going to show some love, you know, to the artists. And I'm excited. I'm grateful and excited. The art review live, rather, that's going to be back on the 15th of April. So be sure to send me your artwork via DMs. Also tag me in your artwork as well. I want to review that live. It was exciting to do that in the first place with the show. I'm looking to invest in a 4K camera. I want you guys to see it crisp, you know, see the vibes in the show. So we're going to review it also. I'll do an announcement to let you guys know when it's time to be reviewed, but I'll be like a few days before. A few days before I'll run down, and yeah, we'll do that. And as for the art review itself, still working on that now. Again, a lot of things have just been taking my time. But yeah, I'll literally going to be getting that cracking over next week. So hopefully you guys will see an episode. So I've already done like 2 scripts of the show, so which is fun. But the thing is that every time I look to do it, there's someone who puts something new up. So it's just like, yeah, I just got to be a little bit sporadic and consistent at this. But again, I've done all the script work for it, and I'm going to get it cracking and send that out. But those who are not following us on YouTube, be sure to follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, check it out, check out the live, what happened last time. There was a little audio mistake in the live that we did. I think I put the setting wrong on one of them, but you still can hear the vibes and the art review style and everything like that. But the live was pretty cool. But yeah, we'll have a polished version of the one we need, which is the art review that will be dropping soon. And I believe that is it. Yeah, that is it. But let's get into the guests. My voice is raspy. Let's get into the guests, Dwight White. In this episode, you're gonna hear a funny moment when, as I always said, talk about, you know, where he's from, where he's residing, and everything like that. And he said he's in London, so he's an American living in London. I was just like, what? You're in the ends. So anybody knows from the UK and hit ends, you know what that means. It means you're in the area where we're at. So he was like, you're in ends, right? Wow, that's crazy. So that was a funny moment, do you know what I mean? But yeah, man, you know, back to Dwight White, like an amazing artist. I love what he does visually, you know what I mean, in terms of a representation of, you know, of black people and everything like that. And he creates these powerful pieces and these meaningful pieces at the same time. But also, you know, he has a background in marketing, so he utilizes all those skills and help him push and elevate what he does. And, you know, we talk about him, you know, traveling to London, you know, looking to, you know, push his career out here as well. But obviously the pandemic happened, you know, and so he's working his way around that. But again, phenomenal guy, phenomenal artist. I love artists who take that risk. You know, he's come to a country where probably, I'm not sure if he knows anybody or if he knew someone, but he just literally came out here just to pursue the dream. You know what I mean? And he's back and forth from, you know, where he's originally from and everything like that. And he's going to be doing a show out there as well, I think he mentioned. But yeah, it's solid, man. And again, I'm always in awe of these artists, man. Like, and I'm always grateful to have these conversations with these artists, these future greats, these future icons. You know what I mean? I know they're going to be in books somewhere in the near future. You know, they're going to be studied. People are going to learn lessons on these artists, on why they did what they did. And, you know, I'm always grateful, you know. So Dwight White's one of them. Do you know what I mean? Him and, you know, the 39 other artists, 38 other artists who've been on the platform. So again, Dwight White, I'm truly grateful for, you know, having you on board, man, and, you know, taking the time just to listen to us on the podcast beforehand and also following us on the platform. But yeah, man, let's keep spreading the energy, spreading the positive vibes, spreading the love. Do you know what I mean? Be sure to follow Dwight White as well when you get a chance whilst you're listening as well. Also, you know, for us, follow us on all audio platforms, SoundCloud, Deezer, Spotify, iTunes. We're on all of these platforms. You know what I mean? You can listen to us wherever you're at, wherever social platform, you know, you're focused on. So, you know, I appreciate you all. Follow us on Instagram at Art Meets Culture. Also follow us on YouTube. I did say that, but yeah, Art Meets Culture. Twitter, A Meets Culture. Facebook, Art Meets Culture as well. Listen, we're everywhere. We're working, we're pushing. And trust me, the only way, you know, we're going to make it in this game is through hard work and smart work, you know, but work is work, as you know. But yeah, I was going to touch on one thing, but it flew by me. As you know, before we used to be called Art Meets Music, but I changed the name, you know, for bigger and purposeful reasons. And someone's taking the Instagram handle, but it's great. And I love it. And I love what they're doing in terms of pushing, you know, the art and, you know, music side of things. So yeah, give them a follow as well. You know what I mean? Shout out to them, whoever you are, who has that page now. Shout out to you who owns the old name. But it's all good. I appreciate you all, man. So yeah, man, as I always say, you know, these artists definitely put their money where their art is. And I'm going to have some t-shirts with that slogan. I'll tell you this for free. Yeah. Put your money where your art is. That's going to be the vibe. And I have another slogan as well, but you're going to see that. And we're just going to push on. But yeah, man, Dwight White is definitely a man who definitely puts his money where his art is. I nearly butchered that one, but I said it smooth still. But yeah, let's get into the podcast. Let's move forward. Let's go. You know the vibe. Let's do it. So, bro, welcome, man.
I appreciate you for having me.
No worries, man. How's things out there, man?
I can't complain. When you say out there, what do you mean?
We mean Chicago.
Believe it or not, I'm in the UK, my brother.
Really?
Yeah.
Listen, we could have done something.
Hey, bro, I heard you when you got on the phone. I was like, oh man, where's my brother at?
Yeah. I was like, what? Okay, so by way of Chicago, you're in the UK.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Chicago is definitely one of the homes for sure.
Okay. How long you been in where in the UK are you?
Right now I'm technically in Cambridge.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess usually takes me about 50 minutes on the train to get into London.
Okay, not bad. How long you been here?
I've been here for about 4 or 5 months or so.
Okay, so you become one of us bit by bit.
Hey, it's hard to do in a pandemic to become one of anything.
Exactly, it's tough. So what brings you to London? You know, this is it changes my dynamic of conversation.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, you know, obviously you mentioned Chicago. That's like one of the greatest cities in the world to me. But what actually brought me to London was kind of the same approach I took to the big city of Chicago. It's like I'm very much so into understanding different types of people, different culture, different behaviors. And that's kind of what inspires my work, my collections, and kind of how I move. So that's really what brought me to London. I was pursuing different residencies and really diving into my practice as a creative. The
Mhm.
pandemic shifted things a lot, but still decided to stay put here at least for a few months and just kind of put my head down, work on strategy, and try and build some connections if possible.
No, that's big. Well, that's my personal interest of me knowing how come you're in London.
Yeah,
But yeah, we usually just kick off, letting the people know who you are and why art.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, me, I'm Dwight White. I'm a multi-disciplinary creative. My primary practice is painting, but definitely an exploratory artist.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of just a little bit about me. I mean, my background. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. Actually,
Okay.
um, moved to Chicago when I was 17, 18 years old.
Mhm.
Went to school out there, and then just fell in love with the city post graduating, and just kind of became one with the culture, one with the people, and that's actually where my art journey started.
Okay. So like, what was it? What was it that drew you to art? All puns intended. What was the energy that made you drive to look? This is what I want to focus on now. Where did the inspiration kick off?
Yeah, for me, it was in the event of just a tragic incident happening, right? So I was a student athlete in university or college, and while I was playing, I had a sudden injury in my third year. And so my dream was to always go play pro football. And
Okay.
so when that shifted due to the injury, I actually had to retire. My cleats could no longer play the sport. And so for me, art was something that I found in a time of probably depression and looking for something that was therapeutic.
Mhm.
So that's how I found art. And what drove me to actually want to be an artist, that's kind of a different story because I think originally when I found art, I was just looking for something that brought me a lot of joy, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of get my mind off of things I didn't want to think about. And eventually it became, more purposeful and I felt a connection with people and felt like it was a part of my mission in life to create in order to inspire.
No, that's good. And was you doing this predominantly in Chicago at the time?
Yep. I had only created in Chicago. I mean, for most of my art journey at this point.
Hmm. No,
Yep.
that's awesome. So, like, what is I believe I had a few conversations with a few Chicago artists in the past. But like, what is the Chicago art scene like before, pre-pandemic?
Yeah.
How was it beforehand?
Man, Chicago art scene it's cool, man, because obviously, I mean, we've got the streets of Chicago, and like that's kind of where I found a lot of passion and been able to create out in the streets and inspire a lot of different types of people. But you also have got a very strong presence of Black artists, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of history in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I think with that, it's a place that has a really solid understanding of its culture.
Mhm.
But the thing about Chicago is so diverse that art reaches all types of different types of people, right?
Yeah.
So I think the special thing about Chicago is that we have talent, but the way I would describe it is there's still a lot of growth opportunity there. It's
Mhm.
like not in any way like your Brooklyn of the world, right?
Yeah.
But it has super high potential to be. Like in terms of talent, it's there. In terms of energy, it's there. Passion,
Mhm.
it's there. It's more so like togetherness. Maybe one thing that we can continue to push in Chicago.
Yeah. No, well, I could only reference the Last Dance documentary just to see how tribal everybody is in Chicago, and also the artists that you produce as well. We obviously Kanye West,
Right.
Chance and all that whatnot. Is very, can I say, eclectic? Feels a little
Yeah.
bit eclectic. Do you know what I mean? So I just love the vibe of the city. Hopefully I can go there one day.
Yeah.
And see what it's about. I mean, you've moved around. What I mean, Chicago's obviously the base, but what does that city mean to you as a whole? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the city of Chicago to me, I mean, it's like when you Just like when you leave your parents' home for the first time, right?
Yeah,
And you just got to
I
spread
remember
your
that
wings.
clearly.
Right.
Yeah,
Everybody remembers that moment, man.
yeah,
So like Chicago to me is like it's like representative of becoming. Like for me, it's like becoming a man, um, learning about yourself. Um, I guess like that's what Chicago means to me personally. It's more so just like I found a new identity
yeah,
in a space that I was not born in, but I embraced and it embraced me.
yeah,
Um, and then I guess like the city as a whole is just it's so it's so culture. It's always connected to world events. It's always pushing narratives. There's a city full of stories. Chicago's just fascinating. I always tell people, especially since I've been here in the UK, right? Like, oh,
yeah,
I can't wait to go to New York. I'm like, yo, like that's real. New York is cool, but like
yeah,
nobody talks about Chicago. Chicago is low key one of the greatest treasures in the US.
yeah. Like sports, I see,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of sports references in your work and stuff like that. You know, do you implement that energy in what you do on a day to day?
Yeah. Um, I mean, sports to me is my foundation, right? So whether or not I'm literally penning about sports, I think there's often either messaging or even in just my practice of being like a full-time artist, right? Like the way I approach entrepreneurship, even I
Yeah,
would say ties back to sports. Like I work with a lot of tenacity, work with strategy,
mm,
and I know in order to be great, and to keep in order to keep evolving, it takes a lot of practice. So
mm,
that's like I think sports is what my foundation is. So it kind of helps me in terms of deciding how I move as an artist, right?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I personally love that because I take, well, I wasn't approaching the league or anything in my in my type of sports or basketball or anything like that. But what I did admire was the likes of Kobe's and the Jordans and then the mindset that
Yeah.
they had. And even, you know, even to the point of looking at coaches, you know, your Phil Jacksons of the world, and just understanding they had a strategy for everything. Do you know what I mean? You know, how important do you think strategy, you know, plays in your life and your artwork, and you know how important should it be for other artists as well?
I mean, strategy is really important. You know, in my opinion, I think that's kind of what takes you from being like just an artist and creating a sustainable living, and lifestyle as artists, right? So
Mhm.
like being strategic, it's not necessarily like you always have to be strategic in what you create. Like you want to be able to create authentically, right? You want to be able to create things that inspire you and then happen to inspire other people.
Mm.
But I think the intersection of art or the artist and business person is a really fascinating space, right?
Mm.
Because a lot of people don't understand both, or that it requires a little bit of knowledge in both to
Yeah.
truly find success. And so when it comes to strategy, for me, I just find it to be super important because this
Mm.
is what I want my life to be. In order for that to happen, I've got to think
Mm.
strategically on some level.
Mm. No, that's good. Who's your like your favorite strategist, if there is one?
Favorite strategist.
Mm.
Um, that's a really good question. Um, Man, I've been inspired by so many people in different spaces. I actually worked in corporate
Mm.
America and marketing for 3 years, and so like I learned a lot from some mentors in that space. You know, my old manager, for example, like he was 100% like an insights thought leader, but then I also
Yeah.
was working directly with, um, you know, almost like the head of marketing at Kraft Heinz, and you know,
Okay.
presenting directly to them. So like being able to be in the same room as some of the world's greatest marketers that are, you know, leading some of the world's biggest brands.
Yeah.
That's I would say kind of where I found most of my knowledge in, along with just I did some grad school as well. So
No, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And I really like that, you know, that you're in that space. You know, it almost gives you the leg up in terms of what you need to do for as a brand. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
how does that, you know, make you more effective in this art pursuit of art?
Um, I think it makes me more effective. Just because like that's the thing, like we as artists, like we're creators. So
Mm.
like we ourselves are brands.
Yeah.
And so like when you're developing a personal brand, which everybody technically has an opportunity to develop their own personal brand.
Yeah.
You walk it, you talk it, you live it and breathe it. It's what people know you as. I guess like that's, I don't know, I think that's the importance, and like what I stress about it most is that, you know, I have to think about myself as a brand. I have to recognize that everything I do and create,
Yeah.
you know, I'm repping. So
No, that makes sense. Do you think like it's a bit of a strain because a lot of artists just want to be focused on being artists, and
yeah.
sometimes it's like I don't want to be the business person, I don't want to market it, I don't want to PR, but I think the time that we're in, long gone are the days where it was like jack of all trades, master of none. It's like no, you need to be jack of all trades at this moment in time for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you find the balance within it? And you know, what advice would you give to people who are trying to do that balance?
Mm. Yeah. I think that's a real point you make. Um, I think the advice that I give and kind of how I've navigated that is like, because I understand like being an artist is extremely difficult, right? Like you do have to master a bunch of things, or you have to be good enough at a lot of things in order to find success. Um, so I think my advice is do all those things at first, but then recognize what of those things you aren't great at. Like understand what your weaknesses are. Like, and when you identify those things, when you have an opportunity to do so, you begin to outsource it and
Yeah.
don't feel bad about doing so.
Mm.
That's what I've had to learn. It's like, yeah, I was doing all those things for many years. Then I recognized, and I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not being efficient, or I'm not creating anymore, because now I'm too worried about admin stuff, or,
Mm.
you know, talking to galleries, or trying to get my work in front of new eyes. I'm like, that doesn't necessarily have to be your job if it's something that you're not great at.
Mm. No, for sure. And it's just like I get it because I'm on that personal journey myself. I'm like, I can't do everything as much as I think I can do everything. So
Right.
it's like now it's just like finding, you know, who can help me out with this, who can help me up with a bit of the marketing, who can help me up with the design. It's just finding
Yep.
those key things. So, and once you do that, the creations become better. Do you know what I mean? Everything
Absolutely.
just becomes more powerful. So I 100%, co-sign that, as a whole.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's, you know, there's always opportunity to like, I think we as artists and we as creators, we always find a reason not to get help,
Mm.
not to get assistance, especially when you technically can do it. It's
Yeah,
just like, but you could be doing something even better. And like what we're all most passionate about is creating. So if you're not
exactly.
doing that as much as you want to be doing, then yeah, it's time to adjust just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like when anybody who comes from sports who I talk to, they understand that quicker because it's a team sport thing. So you understand that team
Mm,
aspect because you can't play defense and attack and coach at the same time. Like you have to kind of alleviate stuff from your mind
yeah,
so you can do
or you'll
what
take
you
an
can
L
do,
for sure. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and talking, like basketball, for instance, you've got your power forwards, you got your Rodmans on what's it called, rebounding defense. It's like Jordan ain't doing what Rodman is doing. So you get to see all
Yeah.
these things and relate it to that as a whole. Um, Miami Art Basel, you had opportunity to do some stuff there, which is a dream for quite a few artists. How did that happen? How did you make that happen?
Man, Miami Art Basel was really similar to how I kind of described my experience in coming to the UK, right? Like it
Mm.
was one of those things where I wanted something, or I recognized something. And kind of the objective for me was, I went to Basel the year prior,
Mm.
and I was like, man, like, what would it look like for me to just have one piece of work here? And like, what new people could I be introduced to?
Yeah.
How do I get my work alongside some people that I admire and I look up to? And so that was really all it was, after I decided that in my mind, like, that's something I want and I'm going to go get it.
Mm.
Um, I I just did it. Like it was I first set up my own show there, which was
Okay,
like
yeah,
I had to spend my own money to put myself in the space, right?
yeah,
Because I wasn't recognized enough globally to have, people, begging for me to be in the show. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna position myself right in the middle of Wynwood, which
yeah,
is literally where everything's happening, everything's popping.
yeah,
And I had an incredible, opening and reception with, people from Chicago, from Miami, from all over the country.
yeah,
That was cool. And then like, prior to that show even happening, I did get an invite from a collective, Pigma International. I work with them in Chicago, but they were getting a booth at Spectrum, which is one of the biggest shows there. And
yeah.
so I actually got to put two of my pieces in that. So things kind of fell into place, but it started with me just taking a bet on myself.
Mm. No, that's solid, man, and I'm happy you kind of betted on yourself, because usually people will be chasing down galleries, these other art fairs, and saying, please take my work, please take my work. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it just takes that, look, I'm just gonna spend all my money on me and just take that punt, and literally just open more doors for you. Um, building on Instagram as an artist is a wonderful thing. I think it's the best thing. It's like being an independent rapper. Do you know what I mean? You're
Right.
rapping your best, there's some freedom to it, but there's also the back of their minds that people want to be signed to major labels. And for the art world, the major label is the art gallery. Is that something that you're pursuing for the foreseeable future, or is it straight independent and you're enjoying this journey?
Yeah. For me, everything I do, I would say is always about the right fit. So, I've been offered representation, and I've seen what representation looks like. I've done some short-term contracts.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, like, yeah, I've had good experiences and bad. But at the end of the day, like I haven't come across any representation that was 100% a fit with me, my brand, and what I want to accomplish and achieve.
Mm.
And then on the flip side of that, like what you mentioned was we're in the social age, right? We're in the
Yeah.
age of social media. And so I do have a platform where my work can be recognized, and can be sold independently. Like people can get directly to me, my website, and my email
Mm.
without a gallery.
Mm.
So for me, it's always added benefit. Like, and I think I've had experiences even where I'm like, what did the gallery actually do for me? So, yeah, if I can answer those questions, then it's like, yeah, like if I see I'm benefiting the gallery by putting my work there, and they're benefiting me by providing me structure, resources, and networking, I think it's always an option for me. I'm not against either way, but I do
Yeah.
love the fact that I can and have the ability to be independent.
Because I think I love the freedom with every artist just doing their own thing. It
Yeah.
almost feels like the galleries haven't been involved in this current era of art, if that makes any sense. Whereas before, when
Hmm.
they had like the Basquiat's, Andy Warhols, and that era, they were just within it early. They immersed themselves in it, but they're too so far removed that when they come trying to build a relationship with you, it's just like, nah, I do that myself already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're kind of shocked by it. But what they will say to you is that we can offer you this buyer, that buyer, and this buyer. Because I was watching a YouTube video about the whole art gallery, which pretty much they said is they don't know what to call this whole period. Whereas before there was like a Renaissance period, and then you had the period, when Basquiat and Andy Warhol and all these guys came up and everything like that. They don't know what to call this, so they can't price things the way they think they can price things, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
So
know
it's
exactly
hard.
what you mean.
It's hard for them to kind of think, oh, how do we get involved? Because they're so disconnected, because they've never been a part of this. You know what I mean? So this is something fresh for them.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I think to your point, like in order to understand it, you got to be in it. So like
yeah,
if you're a standing gallery, and like especially during this time, right? Like things are evolving rapidly. Like
yeah.
especially as we've been in this pandemic, like artists weren't just sitting here like, oh, well, I guess my art career is over because I can't put my work in a gallery.
Mm,
No, people got innovative.
yeah,
And so as artists were getting innovative, like the galleries have to do the same. They've got to
exactly.
like be on social. They got to be on these digital platforms, creating virtual experiences, all these
Yeah.
things. So like I had a good experience at the end of last year with a gallery that wanted to work with me, very collaboratively. So that allowed me to be like, these are my expectations. What do you guys need? And, obviously they want to sell work. I want to
Yeah.
sell work as well, but like I want to do it in a way that makes things different. So we created like a virtual gallery experience.
Yeah. How was that? Because
Yeah.
I did one last year.
Mm-hmm.
I have my opinions on it because I think the virtual experience is cool, but I just love to see the art in the physical form. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, how was the experience for you on a virtual note? Like, what was the feedback on that one as well? Sorry to button in your answer, but I'm
No,
trying
no, not at
to
all.
understand your opinion on that.
For sure. The
Mm.
virtual experience, to me, was a learning experience. It was like, okay, at the end of the day, I know the value. It showed me how important it is for people to be able to feel, touch, and experience art, right?
Yeah,
But it was cool because it brought the consumer off of Instagram into some space, right?
yeah,
Like it was like you're touring the stuff. And then what I thought was really important, which I was happy the gallery worked with me on this, was, there was another level to that where it's like, okay, you've toured it virtually, you're on edge, maybe you're interested in a piece. We also had the opportunity for people to book private appointments or to go in limited groups as long as the gallery was under 20 people.
yeah.
So it's like it brought some people into the virtual space to then take them a step further into actually going into the gallery, or at
Mm.
least having conversations about what it would be like to purchase that piece.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
yeah, no, I
but
fully.
it's tough.
Yeah, I fully feel that, and it was even how we did it, and we just saw the numbers that were coming in. It was like, oh, people are really interested in this, and
Yeah,
you know,
it's
they,
different.
yeah, it's a different vibe, but I think you could be. People were more accepting of it because of what the current circumstances were. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? I almost want to like test that model whilst everybody's out again. Will people sit in their homes and realize, oh, let's watch a virtual gallery, or we're going to the club on a Friday night? You know what I mean? So see
Right.
what ways or what you want to weigh out. But no, it's definitely a cool option. But
Yeah.
speaking of like 2020 as a whole, like how was the year for you? Because it was a lot of adapting for a lot of artists, a lot of creatives, the world essentially. You know, how was that for you?
And 2020, it taught me a lot of things. I think one of those things is patience. Another thing that it taught me was resilience and really taking bets on yourself. So I think overall the year it was challenging for many reasons, like whether we look at, racial inequalities or, Black Lives Matter movement and what that even meant for us as artists. Like I think that part of my purpose as an artist is to document history.
Yeah,
So I was trying to be involved and protect my piece as much as possible, right, while creating and giving people something to look at that visually represents the times.
yeah,
Um, I think the other thing about 2020 for me was it was my first year. I actually became a full-time artist for the first time
yeah,
in 2020. So it was transition. Many people were telling me that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? You have a stable job. And
especially in
like,
a pandemic. It's like,
right, in
what's
a
going
pandemic.
on,
So,
bro?
they're like, how does that even make sense, Dwight? Like, why would you up and leave the only stable thing that you have access to right now?
Yeah,
And I'm like, because when you know, right? Like, it's like, for me, it wasn't about, it was about an energy, and it was about my well-being. I was working full-time, 2 full-time jobs. So it's like,
yeah,
when it comes to like my health and my wellness, like I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, the right amount of meals. So 2020 taught me that, like, sometimes you got to let go of comfort, get uncomfortable in order to open new doors and to excel in new ways. So, I had a decent amount of success in my first, few months as a full-time artist, and it's carried over into this year. So, 2020, as disruptive as it was and as challenging as it was for
mm,
the world as a whole, it also, was, me leaping into a new chapter.
No, that's great, man. And it's always good to know that, people are still taking risks um within it as well. Because as much as, yeah, let's be safe and save for a rainy day, I think, the pursuit of the dream is beautiful. And I think that's something that, people should still stick by, but obviously with strategy, as we've been
Right.
speaking about, which is the focus. But also, last year brought, I don't want to say more highlighting on Black people, where we shouldn't be highlighted in the most negative way, in terms of being killed to then receive some positive energy. But we had like the kickoff of the BLM movement more than ever due to the whole George Floyd thing.
Right.
And then from there, companies now want to heavily showcase representation, showcase us a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? How important do you feel, representation is in the art scene as a whole? Do you know what I mean? Us as Black creators.
Yeah. This is something I've been talking about a lot, because I think representation is extremely important. But that's not new. Everybody knew that already, right? Like that's been communicated year after year, the importance of diversity and inclusion. And so for me, what I've been trying to understand from brands and even any partnerships I do, collaborations, all that stuff is like, how authentic is it? And like is it being done from a standpoint of like you're talking the talk and walking the walk, like not just for a month, but like you're actually making some structure changes. You're actually taking a look at your leadership team and figuring out where to implement diversity in the right ways, and then collaborating with artists and creators like myself. So I think it's important. What I would challenge all of us creators to do is to make sure that when you're working with these brands, like you're reminding them that this isn't like a one-off type of experience. Like maybe your contract is like one-off, but like, are you working with me to check the box, or are they working with you to actually have impact and influence? And so it's hard to read. And obviously as a creator, like there's obviously bigger budgets and money on the line as well when you're working with brand collaborators. But I would just say that's just one thing that I've been trying to make sure I implement into every project I work on. It's like learn about the brand, get insights about what they're actually doing outside of just picking you as an artist because you're Black right now in this moment where we're popular.
Yeah. And I mean, I have my gripes and thoughts on brands now kind of slowing down because of it all. Do you know what I mean? And thinking, oh no, this is back to normal and everything like that. But when brands do come calling, they always give you like a specific figure, like, oh, we can pay you this. Do you know what I mean? In the back of your mind, do you think like, people are being underpaid still, when they're collaborating with artists and creatives?
They can be, right? If you if you're being introduced to that world for the first time, like if you haven't worked with brands in the past, like because even myself, like I've been taken advantage of, or I've been underpaid for something, but it was all due to a lack of knowledge. Like whether the brand knew they were underpaying me or not, like that's not the problem. The problem is, as a creator, do you know what your value is? And so I do think that's still a pain point for us as creators and entrepreneurs, is like, all right, when I work with the brand, like this is what the expectation should be. And it's also like, what did you sign to do? That's been something I've had to take a step back and be like, okay, I said I was doing one thing, but I'm a creator, so I have a ton of bright ideas, right?
Yeah.
When you present those ideas, if you didn't protect those things or protect your intellectual property in any way, brands can technically take that and run with it and turn it into a much bigger thing than you initially agreed to do. So that's another where it was like a lot of times people get underpaid, or at least feel like they're underpaid, because a brand has now taken their intellectual property that wasn't protected and created something huge out of it.
Yeah. Listen, people, make sure you get these brands to sign NDAs as well, because they give you NDAs to sign when creating a project. So make sure you're on it as well, because I have seen artists get bumped essentially. So We've seen it before. You've done murals, and I've seen the murals that you've done. They're exceptional. I really like them.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of people now, I think that's something that people want to tap into. Seeing free wall space around London or around wherever they're from. Like how does one get into the game of murals?
Oh man, it's man, let me know if you know a free wall in London. But I would say, I would say that getting in the game of murals is a lot of it's all about confidence, right? Like that's a scary thing to tackle, or it can be for a lot of artists, right? It's like when you get the opportunity, are you ready? Like there's a lot of things you have to know about mural making that really can't be taught.
Yeah.
Unless you've like worked directly as like an artist assistant or something like that, right? So I would say, you know, tapping into the world is all around, whether it's, you know, being in contact with local businesses, understanding what, you know, what the city is currently doing. Like in Chicago, for example, like there's a big movement and big initiative to start adding more color to the streets in the West and South Side communities. So like if you understand that that's something that the city wants to do, or the mayor of Chicago is like kind of behind, like, all right, like, okay, that means there's funding. And because there's funding, like how do I position myself as an artist who's now capable of doing that? I think the challenge is it's like you got to start somewhere. And I think a lot of artists during this past year have kind of started with like boarded up windows or you know, smaller scale things that at least have given them some proof of concept and some proof of work, to where the opportunities do present themselves now, they at least can show I've done something outside of just canvas work.
No, that's amazing. And you know, if there is any wall space around in London, I'm sure I'm gonna find out. One of my friends who lives around the corner from me, his dad owns like a DIY shop, but I always see
Yeah.
their wall just bare. So I'm just like, are they using it? Are they going to do something with it? And it's always painted like blank. So I might pop in and ask and see if there's an opportunity for anybody. So
Yeah, man. Let me
I'll
know.
definitely let you know for sure, man.
Yeah, I was walking around last weekend, like, man, I gotta go ahead and hop on one of these walls real quick.
Yeah, man, give it a go,
Legally.
man. You never know. Even if it's illegal, I think you probably can get away with it a little bit, but you don't know how the laws move around this
Exactly. I was
period.
like, imagine getting caught up right now. I'm not from
Exactly.
here.
Exactly. I mean, you know, you mentioned in the questionnaire that I sent, you know, creating your first show in Chicago, like that's massive, man. You know, obviously going back home and doing something big, like what does that look like? You know, what would it mean to you to do a show out there?
Man, honestly, it means a lot. It means the world because, you know, at some point I was just like itching to get into a show, like just like hoping to be a part of something. And so for me to be able to give other artists a platform or other artists an opportunity to be in a showcase, you know, I think is huge, especially if you're not familiar with the art landscape. It's a hard community to tap into and really become part of the culture.
Mm,
So I'm looking, you know, at young Black creators like, hey, how do we put you on a stage where like at least you can get some level of exposure, at least start to network with other creators.
mm,
So for me, it's big. I think it's also big because I'm stretching a new muscle. I've
mm.
never curated before, at least not, you know, not a full show, especially not one that will live beyond a single night, right? So I'm just really excited and I'm honored to be able to bring something together for people, for the culture, especially right as the pandemic is ending. I think
Mhm.
it's going to be huge.
Oh, it's going to be
So
massive. Listen,
yeah,
June 21st, if anybody's in London, you know what that date means, you know, and, and I think that's going to be huge for everyone.
exactly. June 21st.
Yeah. So
Yeah, man.
what is your aim in terms of building connections in London in terms of as an artist? Because you've come here by yourself and you
Hmm.
know, it's a big world, you know what I mean? Especially it's a little bit, it's even more quiet because nothing's moving. Do you know what I mean?
Man,
So you've come at a time where it's just like, usually you could go to Shoreditch, have conversations randomly with people. You can go to Camden, you can go somewhere and connect with people. Like, how are you working connections in, I almost call it a silent time in London.
man, it's been extremely challenging. It's been in many ways kind of just like,
Mm.
I won't use the word depressing, but it's almost just like, bro,
Mm.
there's obviously a lack of community, a lack of connecting, and a lack of opportunity in terms of me being able to put myself in the right spaces or being somewhere at the right time.
Yeah.
Like not being able to use your mouth, or being in people's presence,
Mm.
it limits things a lot, to where it's like it almost had me questioning, like, why am I even here? But at the same time, like I told you why I was here. Like
Yeah.
I came to explore, I came to learn, and so I'm still pushing to do that as much as possible by, touring the city, trying to put myself in different spaces. Obviously, like we've been in a lockdown, so there's been not much of that going on. But even trying to get on calls or having authentic conversations like we're having now
Yeah.
has been the only thing that I can do. So
Mm.
it's less of, I haven't been able to really expose too many people to my art here, but
Mm.
I've at least been able to pick some brains and understand a little bit more about the culture, the people, and what's ahead. And that's all I can do, is really look forward to the future.
No, that's dope. I mean, how
Yeah.
long are you here for?
I'll be here for another month until I got to kick off some projects back in Chicago.
When you decide to return, well, return with the well, London back to what it was. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'll
You
be
get,
back after my show in Chicago.
yeah,
So
you get to see the
midsummer, I'll
magic.
be back.
Yeah, you get to see magic in summer. Um, I believe we've got something coming on around that period as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, man, I mean, I'm definitely down to work with you, man. I just love your work and what you've done and the energy you put towards it as well. Do you know what I mean? It's very entrepreneurial, and I think you talk about showcasing that as well as your art as well. Do you know what I mean? Even the question, how important is it for you to showcase that entrepreneurship level with your art?
Sheesh. Yeah, it's so very important. So I'll tell you a little bit more about kind of where my head's at these days and like what I'm working towards for that showcase,
Yeah.
that I'm curating. It's
Mm.
actually all around the idea, of entrepreneurship. So the intersection, like I said earlier in the podcast, was being an artist and being a business person are very two different things. I actually had someone tell me that, and it made me think. And it's like, in reality, they are. Like,
Yeah.
you can be both of them, but you can't necessarily navigate. They're not easy to navigate at the same time,
Mm.
because creators think one way, business people and strategic analysts and things like that think completely differently. It's different parts of the brain.
Yeah.
So what I'm working towards is really defining what entrepreneurship means for an artist, and how to start thinking about putting more tools and resources at the fingertips of artists. Because I think if we go back to the conversation we're having about being an athlete, one thing about being an athlete is that you kind of know the blueprint to success. You you pick up a sport, you train super hard, you wake up at 5 a.m., you develop a Jordan and Kobe type of mentality,
Yeah.
at least as close as you can get to that. That's another level, obviously.
Mhm.
And then eventually you're like, all right, now I have opportunities to get scholarships. You get scholarships. Oh, now I can potentially go to the league.
Mm.
Versus being an artist, if I look at some of the creators that admire me most, or people that I've followed their journey over the past many years, I still couldn't tell you how they got there.
Mm.
Like, I don't know what the blueprint was. I don't know what the things that they do that are so essential to their success.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on, is like, I think entrepreneurship is important to showcase, whether it's through my work or kind of how I'm speaking.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think visually that will look amazing. You're gonna live stream the show.
I'm gonna have to, man. I was like,
Because I
who
gotta
knows
see
what
it,
part?
man.
Who knows what parts of the world will be open? So
Exactly. Now, hopefully, we get to, because I think people should still utilize the virtual experience in some ways in terms of video in it and making it live, because I think people still want to see and people still want to know. Do you know what I mean? So there's, as
yeah,
much as there's locals to inspire, there's a world to inspire at the same time. As we're blessed with all these apps and phones. So yeah, we can stretch the noise.
absolutely.
You know, um, I mean, speaking, entrepreneurship, art, creating, when creating your pieces, um, do you do it because you have a certain customer in mind, or you're doing it for a bigger picture?
Mm. I would say for me, really the only person I have in mind when creating is the subject.
Mm,
So like for me, it's super important to share authentic stories. And so, as you know, like most of my work is either portrait work or usually have a human subject associated with it.
mm,
And whether the subject visually is that exact person is always somebody's story, whether it's my own or someone else's. And so that's my only objective, is to truthfully tell that story and make sure I represent it properly on canvas. Then it's kind of up to the consumer to interpret it in any way. I
mm.
would say I do have a target consumer when it comes to people I'm trying to reach,
Yeah.
but with my with my influence. I would say like I definitely want to reach my peers. I think I get a lot of questions around like, okay, like art, and what does it look like to invest in art, and like when's the right time to start doing that. But even like the next generation, like I want to create things that are compelling to them. So
Yeah.
the stories that I choose to share, I guess in some ways I do choose them based on being able to touch people that are the next generation of creators, as well as it have the potential being collected by people who are seasoned
Yeah.
collectors. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because it's like when I look at your work, I just feel like it's a capsule of importance and a great time, and a celebration at the same time. Do you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Because people, well, a lot of the art that we see on a day to day sometimes don't capture all of that. It just captures hype moments. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
like, look, when you see this whole collection that I've built on my Instagram, you can feel when this happened, why this is important, and you can feel the stories from it. Do you know what I mean? Beyond the
Mm-hmm.
brush strokes, like there's a great feeling behind, the work that you produce.
I appreciate that, man. I'm
Anyways, man.
always glad to hear when other people are connecting with the work as well. 'Cause I mean, I
Nah,
guess
for
if
sure,
you
man.
don't, then
Nah, for sure, because it's like, we can give the flat surface. Oh yeah, they're cool, man. Cool reds, cool colors, and stuff like
yeah.
that. I'm like, nah, what's beyond it? Because I've been having a lot of heavy conversations with a few artists. One of my good friends, um, Kobe, and we've just been talking about like what is beyond certain art pieces that we see on a day to day. It's very
Mm.
easy to draw something, but like I almost want to know, like, how long did it take you to draw this piece? How long did it take you? Like,
Yeah.
did you run out of paint at this point? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a story within the creation of it all beyond the subject that you're painting as well. Like, there's this guy, Lord forgive me for getting his name, but he drew a piece of Skepta. I'm gonna get his name because I don't want to say it, and then people are like, he doesn't even know his name.
Oh, actually, I just saw he did. It took him like 500 hours.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
dang man, now I feel
Yes,
bad because yep,
Kelvin. That's the guy's name.
exactly, Kelvin Benjamin.
Like,
Yep.
like people can see that and be like, oh yeah, he just sketched Skepta, but it's in my brain. It's like 500 hours. What am I doing in 500 hours? Like, what are my 500 hours like? Do
I
you know
hope I
what
mastered something in 500
I mean?
hours. Yeah, like
And for me, that because I zoomed in, I even zoomed in into the jumper, and I can see the like, you see like cashmere fluff on the
yeah,
side. I'm like, yo, he really spent 500 hours on this.
yeah.
You get to appreciate it just a little bit more. So when looking at people's work now, it's literally what's the story behind the creation, and what's the story about the subject at the same time, because people forget that. Do you know what I mean? People heavily forget that, and they have these
Mm.
surface level thoughts on what your work is. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's real. I mean, that's something I even know as personally. Like we talked about the power of social media and stuff like
Mm,
that. Like I know personally, I have to get better at that, telling stories
mm,
on these platforms because, like, yeah, like people can like my work, but people that have invested in my work
mm.
usually is because they understand the depths of it.
Yeah.
So that's like actually really important as a creator to be able to take the consumer beyond the surface, like you said.
I mean, what kind of stories you want to tell, as an artist? Like, what do you want to bring to the table for it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, my main priority, because I paint human subjects, is those stories, like stories of people.
Yeah.
My the one story that I tell a lot now, but haven't necessarily painted in full, is my own story. Like, I haven't really put to canvas. I think, I don't realize it, but I think maybe it is a little bit uncomfortable, like, to share more about yourself. But I'm good with doing it. So I think that's one story that I think I want to share with the world as well, or with people that are interested in my art. And then, the third one is, like I said, around the idea of, being that artist and business person, and the intersection of those two. I want to tell stories about success, pain, struggles, and failures, when it comes to being a full-time creator, and really finding, sustainability, and
Yeah.
making an income doing it. So I think there's a ton of stories to be told there, and hopefully I can have creators join me, in the process of doing that. Because it's not just going to be enough to tell my story. Like,
Yeah.
people need to hear the stories of some of the greats that are
Yeah, for
living
sure.
right
And I
now.
mean,
Yeah.
and I think it can definitely happen for you. Even on the entrepreneur side, it's like I can see it already. Do you know what I mean? Maybe because it's
Mm-hmm.
like I can relate to it and I understand it. It's like, yo, this guy's a hustler. Like, he's everywhere. He's in London. I didn't even know. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're willing to go above and beyond for your skills and talents. Do you know what I mean? As for, people to get to know you in that personal realm, like deeper stories. Yeah, I think one that will take time. Not a long
Yep.
time, but I think it will take time. Obviously, finding that comfortability. Um, I was listening to Daniel Kaluta's acceptance speech,
Yep.
and he referenced Nipsey Hussle, um, where he was like, "Oh, before you something along the lines of before you leave this earth, you need to empty yourself. Like, you need to die empty." Um,
Mm.
and he talked about himself pouring his whole self into the role and doing it freely.
It's
And
powerful.
I think, like, to reference a few artists that I know, I've seen them pour a lot of themselves into that work. And then when you're having conversations about it and they're talking about, oh, I almost was deported from the country, so this is a representation of this. This was going in my head. I went through this depression and everything like that. And it's like you start to look at the artwork just a little bit different, and then you become
Mm-hmm.
very emotional about it. Do you know what I mean? And I like that feeling when I can look at a piece and then I'm hearing, like, you went through this, you went through that. That's why the brushstrokes mean X, Y, Z, and it feels better. So I think, once you get to that point of, look, I'm gonna start sharing my stories through my work and the deeper side of me, I think it's just gonna be a powerful moment for you when you get to that spot.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, man. It's like, that's a great quote, even that you started with, just around, pouring yourself out, or what you say, before you leave this earth, dying empty.
Mm,
Like, that's super powerful. I think that's something that's probably going to resonate with me and stick with me, even following our conversation.
yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it'll be liberating.
Oh, for
It'll feel
sure. And it's
empowering.
like, I sorry to cut you, and it's like I love, statements like that, because we live in a world where it's very, you can sometimes, or well, before, or wherever you're going through now, you can be a bit self-serving and it's all about me, 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 me. But the power of giving, I think, is the best feeling in the world. You know what I mean? Not on a, maybe not on a charitable sense of giving money, but like giving a skill, my time, everything, all these things come into play. And I think they're beautiful things you can gift anybody. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's solid. So, like, 2021. We're in the first quarter. Do you know what I mean? What's the rest of the year, looking like for you? Do you know what I mean? Beyond your personal exhibition that you want to do, like, what's the overall scope of the year?
Sheesh. To think about being a Chicago artist, especially a Chicago artist that does street artwork,
Mm,
um, we know that
yeah,
springtime is golden time. Like,
yeah.
what I'm going back to Chicago for, obviously curating that show, but I have an exhibit, of my own as well. I have, that I'm currently building a collection for. I have, several murals. Like, over here, I was looking at my calendar today, like, trying to make sure I didn't overcommit.
Mm,
Because, like, mural making, like, that's the only shit, Chicago spring and summer feels like it only lasts about 2 months. So you got to get it in.
Yeah.
That's what at least the next quarter looks like. Then the remainder of the year, I see the whole entrepreneur and artist intersection thing, kind of like you said, being like a long-term journey of mine. It's like feels like less of a passion project and more of a purpose project. So that's kind of what the remainder of my year will look like, and obviously continue to do some of the brand partnerships that I've been working with. I'm working directly with the Chicago Fire, which is our soccer or football team, and that's been cool as well, because it's like me taking a back seat as like an actual painter, but being more a community member, being like an active person who understands the landscape of Chicago and helping that inspire creativity for that team. So yeah, man, it's a lot of different projects like that. That's the cool thing about being a full-time creator now, is that I can stretch different muscles and I don't get bored.
No, that's sick, man. And I'm happy that you've got like a solid calendar ahead of you. Do you know what I mean? Because again, it could have been a different situation, after what everybody's gone through
For sure.
this whole past year. And I think it's an ultimate blessing that, that you're in these situations where you can still elevate what you do and become more. So 2021 definitely, sounds like a solid one for you. People who are pursuing art, wanting to be creatives, wanting to be entrepreneurs, and the whole shebang, like what would be the 3 pieces of advice you would like to give them, in terms of their pursuits into their, creative journey, purposeful journey rather?
Yeah, I think the advice I would give is, and in this order too, is getting right with yourself and then being open to change. I think I can expand on those 2 things. I think getting right with yourself, to me, it means, spiritually, emotionally, really understanding, who you are, why you do things, what your strengths and weaknesses are. Like, I mean, getting to know the in and outs of your behaviors, right? And then when I say being open to change, it's all around this idea and concept of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. For me, when I have any sort of creative block, whenever I'm in any sort of pain or struggling with a situation, I've learned that it's okay. Like, it's uncomfortable, but it's typically going to be a light on the other side of that. So I would just say change is a huge thing that probably not enough people are willing to lean into. Usually when life presents opportunity to change, especially significantly, it's usually for a reason. So, yeah.
No, that's big. Strong advice. Bro, I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit more, like better and better, like each time. Do you know what I mean? And it puts your artwork in perspective for me. It's like, I understand now. Do you know what I mean? Like I view the work different, and that's why I appreciate anybody and everybody coming on the podcast and just expressing them. Do you know what I mean? There's podcasts that just strictly talk about the artwork and the artwork alone, but I think when you start to personally understand, the artists and their creations and the purpose behind them, you're like, you know what, I might spend $2,000 on this. I might spend $3,000 on this. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So, I appreciate you, coming on the podcast. I was wondering, like, he picked 6 o'clock to come on the podcast. Like, what time would it be in the States? You're where I'm at. So, I appreciate your time in coming on board on the podcast, and, spending your hour here with me, having this great chat.
Of course, man. I'm gonna have to put you on a podcast soon, man. I'd love to get to know you more as well.
Oh, for sure, man. Let me know, man. I love to chat for days. I've got some good stories and some horror stories at the same time. So
hey, I'm ready for all that. That's what's up.
But yeah, just let me know, man. Where can everybody find you? Socials, websites, all of that.
Yeah. So my social on IG, where I'm most consistent at, is at dwight.original. And then my website is www.dwightart.com. So yeah, 2 places you can find me and stay updated and in tune with where I'm releasing new artwork.
And you got a dope name as well, Dwight White. Like that is like an athlete of athletes name. I'm telling you that.
Hey man, I grew into it. I used to be like, what in the world
It's
am I
like Dwight
working with?
White. What's going on there?
Yeah.
No, but I'm messing with it heavy. But yeah, bro, again, man, appreciate you coming on. You know what I mean? So definitely we'll link up as well. I'll hit you up a message now that you're in London, man. We'll definitely link up.
Yeah, for sure, man. You know, nothing for a train ride for me. I love,
Of course,
love
man. All
yeah.
right, bro.
All right.
You take it
Have a
easy,
good
man.
one, man.
Easy. Bless.
All right. Peace.